Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 104, approval of tonight's agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda, however, Pool 701.
Can I also pull an item? Sure. I have to find it, sorry. The one with NAU.
No, it's the PACVAC agreement for the Avid AI.
Yeah, if you can pull it for separate consideration and approval.
We're pulling it for the next agenda,
Oh,
next
okay.
meeting.
Oh, okay. No, I meant just for separate consideration.
Oh,
From the
you
consent agenda.
need to pull one.
Yeah.
Which one?
I think you're talking about 316 from the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha, okay, never mind.
So I'd like to also make a motion to remove item 316 for separate consideration and approval. So you still vote on it just separately.
So I already made a motion, so he'll have to second it.
You want a second?
Second. All right. I have a motion by,
Combined emotion.
let's,
Give it to Monica.
yeah, it was the end point. So I have a motion by Monica, seconded by Jim, to approve tonight's agenda, which with the addendum of pulling 701 entirely from tonight's agenda and moving item 316 from consent into separate consideration. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to 201, approval modification of the minutes from the September 4th governing board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 202, approval modification of the minutes from the September 4th executive session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries. Item 301, approval of tonight's consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a consent agenda with the exception of, we already pulled it.
Yeah.
The consent agenda as amended.
A motion by Charlotte, seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. As part of tonight's consent agenda, I wanted to thank Desert Federal Credit Union, Donors Choose, Harkins Pop Stop, Senlar FSB, Micro Age, Tempe Women's Club, Mortensen Construction, Invitation Homes, the Thai Foundation, and the City of Tempe and Redont, Arizona for their donations. Mr. McGinney, do we have anybody tonight? Not tonight. All righty. And then for item 316,
Motion to approve item 316.
Second. Second is in a vote.
do you have want any further discussion on item 316? All right. I have a motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries with one abstention. Item 401, celebrate excellence. Dr. Driscoll.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight I have a couple items for Celebrate Excellence. We're having clicker problems. There we go. Sun Produce has been providing 30 produce bags once a month to 5 Tempe elementary schools. Holdeman, Shamley, Thew, Fees, and Frank all participate in this program, which includes a full bag of fresh seasonal vegetables and fruits. The bags also come along with recipes using the produce in their monthly bag, which has been a fantastic way for our families to spend time together. Fuller Elementary students participated in the school's annual Celebrate Difference Week, which places inclusivity, understanding, and acceptance as top of mind. This week's events aim to exemplify that, although we may be differently able, we are more alike than we are different. Events are structured so that grade levels engage in different activities throughout the week, activities that include giving students the opportunity to engage in adaptive equipment and participate in simulation stations to better understand the challenges people with disabilities face. Celebrating Differences Week is a tradition at Fuller Elementary that dates back years. The program was developed by resource teacher Wendy Sosha and alongside new retired Tempe teacher Kathy Smith. Wendy plans and leads the events each year at Fuller. Thank you again for your help in organizing this important learning opportunity for students year after year. Rover Elementary students got to celebrate National Read a Book Day in a very special way. Actor and children's author Max Greenfield visited Rover and shared a reading of his first book, I Don't Want to Read This Book, followed by his brand new book, Goodnight Thoughts, which I read with my daughters because he went to my daughter's school as well, and she's like, you got to read this book. It was actually pretty good. Rover was lucky enough to be one of only 2 schools in Arizona that Greenfield visited during his recent trip to the Valley. And that concludes my Celebrate Excellence for this evening.
Moving on to 501, presentation, update on Toyota partnership, Dr. Catherine Lindhart.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll, thank you for having me this evening. The work supported by Toyota's Driving Possibilities Grant officially started July 1st, but has been in the works for much longer thanks to the hard work of the team here at Tempe Elementary School District. Through Toyota, Driving Possibilities supports 2 major areas of work, the mobility work stream and STEM education. The focus of this work will be at 3 Tempe schools, Scales, Holdeman, and Mosley. Let's look at what's happening in the mobility workstream first. We have 3 partners supporting the community growth in our neighborhoods. United Food Bank is supporting the food pantry housed at Holdeman Elementary School. Southwest Behavioral is providing behavioral and mental health support at the 3 schools. And Native Health is bringing a mobile health unit with various medical providers to Scales and Holdeman. Because of the grant, families who are uninsured or underinsured are still able to receive both medical and behavioral supports. Southwest Behavioral will have a therapist in person at the schools on the days shown. The schedule is flexible and can be adjusted if it is determined that a school needs a half day or a full day, depending on their caseload. They will be working on solutions-focused problem solving to build support and coping skills with the students. Native Health's mobile unit is at Holdeman and Scales on the schedule shown. They have already helped more than 20 students. In fact, it's been almost 30. We had 9 people to come to Scales support today. They are providing vaccines and physical support for sports physicals and schools physicals so that our students can make sure they're getting the medical support they are needing. The hard work of the existing team at Holdeman has been running the food pantry for almost 5 years now, and it has been going very successfully. This year, thanks to Toyota's Driving Possibilities, there is now access to even more food. Many members of the community do already visit this resource, but we hope to grow the number of community members with increased advertising at all of the Driving Possibilities schools. The area of the community in which we're serving, Scales, Holdeman, and Mosley, is considered a food desert, so they have very limited access to fresh food just without the support of this service. We are currently in the process of updating signage thanks to our marketing team so that we can have new signage that supports the pantry and directs people to the right location. The second part of this work is STEM education. The first main goal of this branch is to increase the number of students who seek science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM education, and CTE programming in high school. CTE stands for Career Technical Education and is an area that seeks to prepare students for college and career readiness. This grant works to grow our students' access to CTE and STEM while they're in our school's K through 8th grade. The second goal is to implement career-focused performance assessment that will be used to guide students towards knowing and understanding their career options. And again, that's starting as low as kindergarten, so they know what's available to them when they get into high school and can take advantage of the CTE options that are available in their high schools. We have already met with Westmec to discuss CTE in middle school, and we have a meeting with EVIT later this month. Through Blueprint, an already established and growing tool that we are working to impact the work of CTE and design thinking. Our STEM developer is working to build STEM and CTE opportunities within Blueprint, focusing on meaningful and explicit experiences that connect to the content areas of science, social studies, math, and ELA, while bringing in STEM, not just technology and math, but really focusing on engineering and getting the engineering design process into all of our content areas. As potential new resources are introduced to our students and teachers, we plan to provide continuing ongoing professional development for the teachers, which could include initial training, coaching, model teaching, as well as co-teaching. And finally, to grow CTE for the K-8 world, we are exploring different platforms that provide CTE lesson plans and experiences for students at grade appropriate levels. So what a kindergarten sees in the world of CTE will not be the same as what a middle schooler, 6th, 7th, 8th grader sees. There are a few options out there that we are considering. One of them is through the Center for the Future of Arizona called Possible Futures, and we hope to connect with the schools and districts outside of Tempe where our students go after finishing 8th grade so that we can make sure that the path is seamless as they transition. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much. I'm excited about this.
Me too.
I might comment when I go to primary grades and talk about being a geologist, it's really tough with the kindergartners if we go more than 15 minutes. But the 3rd grade, 4th grade, it's a little bit easier. And of course, in the middle school, when they combine the class. And so I enjoy doing that. And then with our friends at ASU and the Center for Bioremediated Biodesign Geotechnics. And that's part of the goal of this National Science Foundation grant, to go all the way down to kindergarten, all the way through graduate school. And so we're pushing that, and I'm glad to see Toyota coming in as the 10-year grant starts to wind down. And so this part's good. The other, I had one more question here. The teacher professional development is one of the areas that we're finding in the CBBG program that is kind of hard, and particularly with the primary grade teachers. And there are programs downtown and other places, but it's usually on the weekend and people have other things. Do we have plans to bring in that sort of training on site?
Yes and no. That would definitely depend on the type of resource that we're training the teachers with. We are working with, or hoping to work more with, Junior Achievement, which is a company that brings in business opportunities and business learning to our students. And their training can be done in a 30-minute session. So we'll be able to hopefully work with the site principals and teachers at a staff meeting or a time when they are all together as a group. For larger trainings, like the Westmec training that they're looking to start, that may or may not require some time outside of the school day, and we would hopefully be able to work with teachers in a way that makes it something that is attractive for them, for their students.
Mr. President, I guess my question is, if we're going to ask teachers to go outside of the normal time that we've done for professional development or to work with other people outside the district. Does the grant let us use some money for a stipend?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Miller. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think that maybe some viewers and audience members might not understand the two different branches of this partnership and grant. So if you wouldn't mind me just kind of like summarizing a little bit. I love the holistic approach, this whole idea that we have to meet kids' needs before we start pushing them academically. And that's exactly what you presented, right? That we have to feed them, we have to make sure that their physical needs are taken care of. I love that Toyota is building upon already established practices and wraparound services that have been offered for so long. I especially love that even the teaching is doing the same thing. You already said that it's not going to be a siloed approach to teaching CTE. It's cross-curricular, which is essential because we need engineers who can also read and write. Like, that's super important. And often CTE is not approached that way, so I love that. And I just really appreciate the thoughtfulness that Toyota and Tempe Elementary have put into this idea so that it can benefit so many students in so many different ways. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would just reiterate that point, and thank you for the presentation. .502, presentation update on Student Success Enterprise.
Good evening, buenas noches. Today I'll be sharing with you a little bit about student and community engagement updates. Our desired outcome to Mr. President, our esteemed board members, our wonderful superintendent, Dr. James Driscoll, our colleagues that are behind me, and our community members is really learn and update information regarding McKinney-Vento, behavior supports, as well as discipline data. Our goals are directly aligned with our strategic plan of 4.2, ensuring district systems are effective and implemented with fidelity. In addition to 5.2, ensuring that school programs as well as practices which promote positive school communities are fidelity. So, Ms. Windsor, I think you mentioned it's important that we're meeting those Maslow hierarchy of needs. Safety first always. Inclusive for our students to be able to learn, we must make sure that they have optimal physical, mental, social health, and well-being. That's essential to them being able to receive any math, reading, or any other type of learning that happens in the classroom. Some of these needs may require us to meet, whether it's food and shelter and clothing needs, some emergency type of situation with families and students that could include a significant loss, attendance or absences and truancy types of needs, behavior that could be anywhere from conflict to managing their own stress, respecting authority and getting along with others, as well as social emotional pieces and building those lifelong essential skills that we all need to live in this world. Inclusive of health-related needs, which are anywhere from immunizations. We want students to be in school and ready to learn with everything that they need, including if it's access to medication and or hospitalization, and addressing any mental health concerns that they might need as well. Everything from the extreme of thoughts of suicide to any severe issues regarding anxiety, depression, or sadness. So one of the most important pieces that we have to be cognizant of is addressing populations that might be more vulnerable. And a population that we heavily focus on and making sure that we meet their needs is our McKinney-Vento students and their families. These are students living without homes or families in transitions. These are students who may lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. They might be living in a park or in a car, which we've had circumstances just this week and we're finding families eligible They might be doubled up or sharing housing with other families, but their primary nighttime residence may or may not be designated for regular sleeping. And these students have certain rights, and that is immediate school enrollment. And that is no barrier should keep the student from actually being in his seat and ready to learn. We provide, thanks to the support of our TIE Foundation and CWK, opportunities for students to be able to have everything that they need, whether it's their uniform or school clothing and or any other school supplies that they might need. So let's take a look at the numbers. How many students are we actually talking about in Tempe? You'll see last year's numbers. About last week, we took these numbers and just compared. We're about the same, right? 145, this time last year at about 140. Last year, we qualified 374 students. And I want that for that to really settle. Because what does that mean for us? What does that really equate to for our teachers? One of the biggest barriers, as we know, for students sometimes in this situation might be transportation. I am every day impressed with our transportation team and what they're able to do. Sometimes in these circumstances, while we are required to share and provide these services to students in Tempe L, because they're either the school of residence or we are their school of origin, sometimes if it's beyond a certain number of miles, we gauge about 25 miles or so, then we do have to seek services with a third-party vendor because it's beyond what our amazing Tempe transportation team can do. And just rough numbers, as of last week, we know based on what we are currently, our current expenditure in regards to this, we're definitely totaling over 12,000. But if we continue in this trajectory, we will exceed over 60,000. Those transportation needs could mean, like currently, we are helping to transport students as far as Wickenburg. I don't know if any of you have been, but that is quite far, or as close to as some of our East Valley districts. And we're also required to also transport and provide transportation for our foster students as well. This is something that as we're qualifying families, we're asking very poignant questions while still honoring the family and their circumstances and situation, but still being fiscally responsible, of course. And I forgot to mention, it's about approximately, we're spending about $100 per ride using those vendor services, to give you an idea. Another subgroup that we are very cognizant of are our refugee students and families. A lot of them will qualify for McKinney-Vento due to hardship. With an increase in families and fleeing countries for safety or seeking peace, we need to make sure that we support these students as their adjustment to our American education system is extremely vital. So let's take a look at how many students those are. And this number, there's certainly influx. We know that housing is a big predictor, whether or not they stay in Tempe. But what I want to share with you is that when we look at the top 5 cities in Maricopa County, Tempe ranks number 4 as being the 4th city that gets refugees. The average age of a refugee under the age of 18 is 8.9 years of age. So they're all ours when they're living in our community, and we will love on them and welcome them with open arms. So let's take a look at this wonderful new team that I am so blessed and honored to be a part of and lead, our behavior team, which is comprised of our board certified behavior analysts as well as behavior interventionists. Dr. James Driscoll's innovative ideas is to provide supports and be proactive in supporting teachers before things become a bigger problem in the classroom. So these amazing 4 individuals, this is a new team this year, and some of the supports that we provide, I'm going to get right into it and give you some numbers just to give you some context. From emergency supports, this is as a beginning of this school year, we're totaling about 12, and this is per student, not per response by team. So immediate support, what does that really mean? This is when we have a student that in these situations are a danger because of physical safety. They're physically injuring somebody, and all the individuals on that staff have provided necessary support, so they're needing more hands on deck. So the number of campuses that have asked for this support, you'll notice on there is about 6. But this request would typically come from administration. Consulting support. Consulting support is where the staff at a school is wanting feedback on a team's interventions. Maybe they're running out of ideas or barriers, and they need a fresh new set of ideas or a new person on the team in order to provide that. So these supports include initial team meetings, observation of student intervention and recommendation. This is certainly not a long-term solution, but it is a solution for some. And as you can see, about 11 campuses have requested this type of consulting report. And then formal support. The beginning of the year is, as you know, fast and furious, very busy. We're getting everyone adjusted. So this type of support is more of an intervention formal support request that comes through and would look like multiple observations, intervention formations, team training, consistent support, or progress monitoring type of collection. And lastly, but I'll get a little bit more detailed into the staff supports, this support is utilized to really build staff capacity and skills, right? We want teachers to learn new ideas as well as learn things that they can do practical in order to adjust what supports they need to provide for students. And this is done through either individual team meetings, modeling behavior skills training, and in-time coaching in the classroom. This includes supporting with data collection, possibly with a positive behavior intervention plan or a functional behavior intervention plan, and providing feedback in regards to individual students. And then I'm going to get a little bit more specific. Oops, I want to make sure I hit the right key here. Some of the trainings that we've provided, either district-wide and or site-specific, we've either offered on their campuses and or through our power schools. School administrators are usually requesting this type of training for their staff. And some of the trainings that we have done thus far have, for example, been Tier 1 support, such as universal expectations, evidence-based behavior strategies, such as whether it's pre-correction or behavior-specific praise, classroom community building, routines and procedure, but we've impacted approximately 297 staff members thus far. Pretty significant for a brand new team. We are trying to be boots on the ground and being active helpers, which leads me to all hands on deck support. What are the supports as it pertains to students? This is a breakdown by grade level, our contact regarding the behavior team by student, not by school. And one of the new things we've offered this year is the mediation piece that I'll bring your attention to, and you'll see that red portion in those middle grades that sometimes are really needed. We know that adolescent developmental stage can be filled with some uncertainty and might need some additional support, and the behavior team is providing that support. Here's a distribution of the behavior team support services as it pertains to indirect, meaning not with students, with staff. And I want to highlight that the number one is with staff supports, which equates to anyone in the classroom. That includes teachers, IAs, anyone that is actually in the classroom providing support and teaching the students, we're supporting them. And that is the number one category there. And then the second one you'll see is leadership support. We've had from new leaders to veteran returning leaders that are noticing that, hey, we have some experts in our field as it pertains to behavior and they could use it, so they're definitely tapping into the behavior team as well. So in order to reducing the achievement gap, we must be focused on interventions that enhance behavior and ultimately reduce the achievement gap is not only necessary, we know it's imperative. Let's take a closer look at some of the things that might be a little bit harder to look at, and that's our discipline data. On this slide, you're going to see discipline by numbers as far as students with one or more violation by school. You'll see the schools at the very bottom alphabetically with a percentage. on the side, and then you'll also have the chart on the other side. This is just a snapshot in time based on data that's been recorded, I would say, as of end of last week. We know that the end of the quarter is a busy time. While this data is incomplete, we know it's a starting point. And our next data set to share with you are number of students with one or more violation at our middle schools. You'll notice from the previous data, I separated Shamley K-5 and 6 through 8. I felt like that was fair to put them in those specific categories by grade level. This data set is definitely a growth point for us as we implement systems with fidelity. And again, it's a busy time as we end the quarter, but just wanted to give you an opportunity to let those numbers settle as our staff, both site-wise and district-wide, are working very hard. So you might ask, what are the type of violations that we're seeing? What's bubbling up? What we're seeing, I think, as most frequent violations is going to be more aggression, more physical pieces when students, whether it's impulse control or not being able to handle conflict, and needing to learn more self-management skills. The others that I would note as far as violations would be more defiance, disrespect, and inappropriate language. One item that I would add is we are at the middle school specifically, we are working with leadership in order to have quarterly meetings around our quarterly discipline data in order to ensure we have inter-rater reliability pieces happening, ensuring that we're looking at patterns as far as time of day, the occurrence, the types of incidents, the referral sources, but in the end, ultimately just trying to provide that wraparound support to ensure that we reduce that recidivism rate. So specifically in middle school, the behavior team is leading this effort in providing more restorative opportunities and us working with leadership to include reintegration meetings for students returning from off-campus suspension. These meetings, we pair students with other staff members to focus on reflection, to repair the relationship, and really rebuild the trust. We know if we don't do that, we will end back up having the same occurrence again, if not worse. So our approach is very intentionally focused to reduce the recidivism, to teach students the skills to make amends, to solve potential problems of conflict and disagreements with appropriate supports in place, because we are here for them. Many, not just those of us that are showing up, those in the classroom, and we have wonderful community members and volunteers. But our goal is really so that students learn, so they're not making the same mistakes once again. So this doesn't happen alone. It requires a collaborative support. And while this might be a picture of the majority of people on my team, what I will share is that all of this work doesn't happen without the partnership of parents and caregivers. We just simply cannot do it alone. We need them working alongside with us, which is why our team is comprised of social workers, community liaisons, the behavior team, a truancy officer, the McKinney-Vento specialist, and we work in unison with all of our colleagues in our district to make sure that we are collaborative and that there's no I in team, whether that's with the SPED team, our leadership team, our employee experience team. We're working in unison to make sure that students are ready to learn every day. I am happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Brenda, for this update and presentation. It's greatly appreciated. I just want to ask a question. You had your presentation. I don't think you read it out loud, but it says regarding transportation for McKinney-Vento, you received no additional funds for this mandate. So it is a mandate. Is it mandated by the state or a federal mandate? I don't remember.
You know, McKinney-Vento is a federal mandate in which we're required to provide these services for students and remove the barrier for them not being able to access education. It's truly an equity issue, right? And so I'm going to give a nod to my CFO over here in case he wants to add anything, but we do our absolute best to, be responsible with our decision making, from selecting the vendors, that they're responsible and have everything that they need so that I, even as a parent, would trust them. But in addition to that, making sure that we're just fiscally responsible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In regards to the number of students with 1+ violation, this represents just the number of violations, correct? It doesn't represent individualized violations, because my question is if it's one student who maybe makes up, 90% of the violations.
Correct.
Okay.
So we may have students that make more than one violation. So, yes,
So it is individualized violations
it is.
per student.
It is individualized. We're counting. It's, if we have a student that has had one violation, that is a count of the percentage. So how can I put this in a very different way? Is
maybe-
one student may have more than one violation, but
So, for example, let's say a school, the student has, 30 violations in one school, but it's only one student. That's what's here, right?
correct.
Okay, is it possible to break that down, because for us to see also? 'Cause I'd be curious to know, because sometimes those trends might also illuminate something else. Thank
Most
you.
certainly, we can get you additional data pieces.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vargas. It's a lot of information.
It is a lot to process.
I wanted to talk about McCamey Vinto and the numbers. On your slide, you had 374 students, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, that is accurate.
As I recall, in years past, there was a lot of mobility out of the district and then back in, that sort of thing. Would that also be included in this 374?
This is the number that represents a number of students that we qualified in that school year. Whether or not those students stayed with us for the entire year or a significant portion of the time, that would be a separate number. Like how many students did we end with, we started with. So I would need to give you those additional data points if you'd like them.
And no, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, President Miller. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
You have the job that focuses on the kids that are often the most unseen. So I appreciate all that you're doing to draw attention to them and to get them what they need. So I am really appreciative of that. I do have some questions about some of the definitions. So refugee status, I was just wondering, does that include like asylum seekers?
So it does. It doesn't include, so if we were to generalize newcomers, then refugees would be one group of those newcomers.
Okay, so the reason why I asked the question is, do these numbers represent the kids that are, have guardian agencies representing them? Or is it anybody who self-identifies as refugee or asylum seeker?
Anyone that self-identifies, and then we're following up with a verification. A lot of them will have information from the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and or they might be working with the International Rescue Committee sometimes. Oftentimes they might have someone with them assisting them in enrollment, and or they're tapping into our office in order for an additional support. Usually that's like in the form of a social worker, and or they could be working with a community agency such as one of our religious organizations that is supporting them. Because as you know, Ms. Windsor, our state is in receipt of many refugees. This year, we more than likely in our state will be in receipt of over 6,500 refugees, and Maricopa County is typically number one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My next question is about McKinney-Vento third-party vendors. Hold on one second. Oh, I just wanted to mention that 60,000 actually is pretty low compared to what our neighboring districts. So when you were speaking of being fiscally responsible, you're blowing other people out of the water in a deficit way. So I want to just highlight that. That's excellent numbers.
I appreciate that, and my McKinney-Vento specialist, who's in the audience, can attest to that as we are having continuous conversations about families' circumstances and really exhausting every resource that we have before we tap into the dollars.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question is about the number of foster care students that we have. I know you didn't put that data point. But
I didn't, and I need to get back to you on that.
if you could just
because-
email us, I would like to
Absolutely.
know how many we had last year and what we're currently at for this year.
No problem.
And then I had a question about, and this is just, me not being a math person. When you were looking at the data and you were referring, excuse me, referring to this as per student, not per response by the team, can you give me another way to, I hear that?
So we might be responding, and let me flip back and put on my handy dandy. So this is per student. That means we may have more than one response per student.
So it's just like the discipline data?
Correct.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then I wanted to highlight on the pie chart, I'm thrilled that staff support and leadership support far outweighs the amount of time spent in meetings. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I think I need a job change because that's amazing data right there. Which tells us that the minutes that are needed for students are going to students and adult support, obviously, because that's part of it. All right, I think that's all my questions. Hold on one second. I think there was one other. Oh, yeah. Okay. So on slide number 21, you were referring to the most frequent behavior violations.
Yes.
And you listed physical aggression, defiance, and disrespect, which I would argue often go hand in hand.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was wanting to know about the time of day for those. Do you see peak time periods yet in your data?
It depends. Sometimes in middle school, the beginning of the day, you would think they were still asleep because what we know about adolescent brains. However, we tend to see sometimes in certain sites during certain times of the day, right after lunch, or during those fun transition times, as you know, they're a little bit less unstructured as compared to the classroom, is when we tend to probably see more peaks. But I'll be able to probably respond to that question a little bit more informed after my quarterly reviews with my middle school principals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to, and this is a PSA, I know I'm the board member that everybody hates hearing me chime in about recess, but I know recess protections in the state end with 5th grade. Well, although we see 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in huge need of physical outlets, and not everybody signs up for a PE class. So maybe that's a pretty low-cost help for physical aggression and get some of that energy out. So just a suggestion. Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate that,
everyone.
of course.
My only question was going to be about foster kids, but you stole it. And, that's what happens when you go last. But thank you for the presentation. I appreciate the level of detail here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Item 601, open call to the public. We have no blue cards, so we're moving right along. 701 has already been pulled, so we're moving straight on to 702. Discussion, consideration, possible approval of a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the Arizona Lions Vision and Hearing Foundation and Tempe Elementary School District. Dr. Driscoll, do you want to talk on this for a little bit? Or hand it off to somebody else?
Thank you. Mr. President, what questions may you have?
Did you want to give us a?
Sure, I'll give you a quick synopsis. The Lions Club is a provider that would offer our students free exams for their eyes and free glasses. And what's really sharp about this particular partner is they do it all in one stop, and they do it on the school, in the school setting. So we would pre-identify students just through our normal screenings at the nurse's office, work with the parents to make sure we have consent, and then the Lions Club would come in, they're professionals, they do the screening, they do the eye exam, and then actually have the glasses ready to go so that those students, free of charge, get everything taken care of.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cromaldi. I know Lions Club has been committed to helping children's vision be assisted if needed for decades, if not longer. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Arizona Lions Vision and Hearing Foundation and Tempe Elementary School District.
I'll second.
A motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 703, discussion, consideration, possible approval to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of school improvement bonds of the district and an adoption of certain issuance and post-issuance tax compliance procedures. Those were a lot of fun words to say in a row.
Mr. President, as you remember, the voters passed the $196.5 million bond back in November 22. And we were going to use that to construct, at least part of it, to construct a good number of new schools. And we have, you awarded the architect contract for the Curran-Connolly rebuild in previous meetings. And so this bond money will be used to go toward that rebuild aspect. So this would be the first sale of those $196 million. And we will probably have frequent sales based on how much construction costs nowadays. But yeah, this would be the first part of that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of school improvement bonds of the district and adoption of certain issuance and post-issuance tax compliance procedures.
I have a motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries. Item 704, review and adoption of non-substantive revisions to governing board policy GDF, support staff hiring.
So this one, at a previous board meeting, you guys had approved GDF, and so we had some revisions in there that were just minor but needed to be addressed by you guys, that we made a couple of changes. The lawyers looked at it. There's nothing substantial. When they say non-substantive, it's nothing that you guys agreed to really change. It's just minor tweaks to the language.
Thank you, Dr. Driscoll. So this was just based on attorney recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, because I was like confused. We had approved this already and saw it. And I just wanted to note, it does reference August 21st governing board meeting, or I'm sorry, August 16th. I don't think we had a meeting on August.
August 16th of 23.
Oh, of 23.
August 21st of 24.
Okay, because we had our first read, I think August 7th. Okay, I was very confused by that. Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the non-substantive revisions to the governing board policy GDF, support staff hiring.
The motion by Charlotte, seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries. 801, board information. Does anyone have any board information? No? Skipping straight through. 901. Unless we're going backwards. 801. Jim, do you have an announcement or board information, I should say?
Yeah, it's board information?
Yes.
Yeah. We went to the East Valley School Board Association Monday, somewhere out in the East Valley. Higley, yeah.
Which is close to Queen Creek.
Yeah, it's real close to Pinell County. I actually went into Pinell County and made a wrong turn. But it was a good meeting from that standpoint, so it was well worth our time to go. I don't know about the travel time, but that was good. So, thank you. And then I think we have Maricopa County meeting, and that's out on the other side of town. So I'll fill up my gas tank again. So that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
To that end, going on to the announcements of upcoming events. The ASBA Maricopa County meeting will be Monday, September 23rd at 4:30 p.m. at the Glendale Elementary School District. Parent-teacher conferences will be held September 24th through September 26th, 2024. Fall break will be Monday, September 30th through Friday, October 11th, 2024. All schools will be closed. There will be an agenda committee meeting Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024 at 11 a.m. Tempe Tardia will be held on Sunday, October 6th from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Tempe Public Library. The next regularly scheduled governing board meeting will be Wednesday, October 9th here at the governing board room. Oktoberfest at Tempe Town Lake, which benefits Tempe Sister Tempe Sister Cities will be held Friday, October 11th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to midnight, Saturday, October 12th, from 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday, October 13th, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Tempe Town Lake. District-wide staff development will be held Monday, October 14th, 2024. All schools will be closed. The 41st Annual Don Carlos Humanitarian Award Ceremony and Dinner will take place Monday, November 18th at 5:30 p.m. at the SRP Para Club. 10:01, meeting adjournment.
Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion by Charlotte, seconded by Monica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.